The diplomatic vessel descended through the crimson atmosphere of Valtara Prime, carrying humanity's most important ambassadors to the coronation ceremony of King Terran the Vast. Among the delegation sat Marcus Webb, a culinary specialist who had been included at the last moment when the original chef fell ill. He clutched his personal cooking kit nervously as the ship touched down on the royal landing platform. The palace rose before them like a crystal mountain, its towers refracting the light of 3 distant suns into cascading rainbows. Valtaran nobles lined the corridors in their ceremonial armor, their blue skin decorated with luminescent patterns that shifted with their moods. Ambassador Helen Rodriguez led the human contingent forward with practiced grace, but Marcus could barely focus on the proceedings. He was too busy cataloging the alien foods displayed on massive tables throughout the throne room. Princess Lyria sat upon a floating throne beside her father, her expression one of profound boredom. She was considered the most beautiful being on 12 worlds, with features that seemed to capture starlight itself. Her flowing robes changed color with her thoughts, currently cycling through shades of indifferent gray and pale violet. The coronation feast was about to begin, and she looked as though she would rather be anywhere else. King Terran rose to address the assembled dignitaries. His voice resonated through the chamber without need for amplification. He spoke of alliances and mutual prosperity, of trade routes and cultural exchange. The humans applauded politely at the appropriate moments. Then came the feast. Servants brought forth dish after dish of Valtaran delicacies. There were crystallized proteins that sang when touched, gelatinous cubes that changed flavor based on the consumer's emotional state, and beverages that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The human delegation sampled everything with diplomatic enthusiasm. Though Marcus noticed several of his colleagues turning slightly green, Princess Lyria barely touched her food. She pushed the dimensional drink away after a single sip and regarded the singing crystals with open disdain. Her father noticed but said nothing, though his skin patterns flickered with concern. This behavior was apparently not new. The meal continued for 3 hours by human reckoning. Musicians played instruments that manipulated gravity itself to create sound. Dancers moved through the air as though swimming. Yet the princess grew more listless with each passing moment. When her father finally announced a brief recess, she rose immediately and disappeared through a side corridor. Marcus found himself wandering the same direction, ostensibly searching for a refreshment station. Instead, he discovered the princess standing on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. She was alone, staring at the alien flowers below with an expression of such profound melancholy that Marcus almost turned back. "The food displeases you," he said before he could stop himself. Lyria turned, her eyes widening slightly at the sight of the human. Her robes shifted to surprised amber. "You speak our language well." "Translation implant," Marcus replied, tapping his temple. "But I do not need translation to recognize someone who finds no joy in eating." The princess regarded him with new interest. "Joy in eating? What a curious phrase. Food is sustenance, fuel for the body." Marcus stepped closer to the balcony railing. "On Earth, food is much more than that. It is culture, memory, love made tangible." Lyria's robes flickered to curious gold. "Tell me more." So Marcus did. He spoke of his grandmother's kitchen, where the smell of baking bread could heal wounded hearts. He described street markets in ancient cities, where spices from 1,000 regions blended into symphonies of scent. He explained how sharing a meal built bonds between strangers and how recipes carried the history of entire peoples through generations. The princess listened with an intensity that suggested she had never heard such concepts before. "We Valterans eat efficiently," she said when he finished. "We have mastered nutrition to the molecular level. Our food provides exactly what the body requires and nothing more. But what about what the soul requires? Marcus asked. Lyria blinked slowly. I do not understand. Marcus made a decision that was either brilliant or catastrophically stupid. Your Highness, would you permit me to prepare something for you? A human dish? Not for diplomacy or politics, just for the experience. The princess smiled for the first time that day. I would like that very much. Getting access to the royal kitchens proved surprisingly easy once Lyria expressed her wish. The Valteran cooks watched with fascination and mild horror as Marcus unpacked his personal kit and began requisitioning ingredients. He had brought supplies from Earth, knowing that alien digestion often struggled with unfamiliar proteins. But he also incorporated local elements to create something uniquely suited to the moment. He started with flour he had carried from home, mixing it with water purified from Valtara's northern ice caps. His hands worked the dough with practiced rhythm while explaining each step to Lyria, who watched from a respectful distance. He spoke of how bread had sustained humanity through its darkest hours and celebrated its greatest triumphs. While the dough rose, he prepared a sauce from tomatoes grown in the ship's hydroponics bay, enhanced with herbs he had discovered in the palace gardens that tasted remarkably similar to basil and oregano. The sauce simmered, filling the kitchen with aromas that drew more onlookers, including several palace guards who abandoned their posts to investigate. Marcus shaped the dough into a flat circle and spread the sauce across its surface. He added cheese made from Earth-origin cultures, then topped it with thin slices of a local vegetable that resembled peppers but tasted faintly of honey. The assembled creation went into an oven hot enough to melt lesser metals. 12 minutes later, he removed the first pizza ever created on an alien world. The kitchen had grown crowded with curious Valterans. Even King Terran had appeared, though he maintained a dignified distance. Marcus cut the pizza into slices and offered the first to Lyria. She accepted it hesitantly, studying the combination of colors and textures. Steam rose from the melted cheese. The smell alone seemed to affect her, as her robe shifted through a dozen shades of intrigue, teal and pleased pink. Then she took a bite. The change was immediate and total. Lyria's eyes widened, her bioluminescent markings flaring bright enough to cast shadows. Her robes exploded into a supernova of colors that had never been seen in Valteran history, combinations so vibrant that several witnesses later claimed temporary blindness. She made a sound that started as surprise and became pure joy. She paused to take another bite. This is extraordinary. The textures, the temperature variations, the way each component maintains its identity while contributing to a greater whole. The warmth, the comfort. She looked at Marcus with something approaching wonder. Is all Earth food like this? Earth food is as varied as Earth people, Marcus replied, grinning at her reaction. But it all shares one thing. It is made to be enjoyed, not merely consumed. Lyria finished her slice and immediately reached for another. Around the kitchen, other Valterans sampled the remaining pieces, each one experiencing similar reactions of delighted shock. King Terran tried a bite and stood perfectly still for 30 seconds before declaring it the most interesting thing he had tasted in 3 centuries. The coronation feast resumed an hour later, but it was fundamentally changed. At Princess Lyria's insistence, Marcus prepared enough pizza for every dignitary in attendance. The sight of the Valteran princess eating with genuine enthusiasm inspired others to reconsider their own relationship with food. Diplomatic conversations that had been stiff and formal became animated and warm, facilitated by shared appreciation for something new and wonderful. Ambassador Rodriguez pulled Marcus aside during the celebration. Do you realize what you have done? You just revolutionized their entire culture's approach to sustenance. Marcus shrugged. I just made pizza. You did far more than that, Rodriguez said quietly. You reminded them that efficiency is not the only virtue, that pleasure and purpose can coexist, that humanity has things to offer beyond technology and military might. As the feast concluded, King Theron approached Marcus personally. "Young human, you have given my daughter something I thought she had lost. Her joy, her curiosity about life." The king's skin patterns swirled with paternal gratitude. "I wish to establish a cultural exchange program. Send us your chefs, your artists, your musicians. We will share our sciences and technologies, but we will also learn to share your appreciation for beauty in simple things." Marcus bowed deeply. "Your Majesty honors me too greatly. I am just a cook." "No," Princess Lyria interjected, joining them. Her robes were still cycling through happy colors. "You are a teacher, an ambassador in the truest sense. You built a bridge between our peoples using flour and tomatoes." She smiled at him. "I want to learn everything about Earth food. Will you teach me?" "It would be my honor, Your Highness." The diplomatic vessel departed Valtara Prime 3 days later, carrying new trade agreements and cultural exchange protocols that would reshape human-Valtaran relations for generations. But more importantly, it left behind one hungry princess who had discovered that eating could be joyful, and a kingdom beginning to understand that efficiency without pleasure was merely existence without life. Marcus returned to Earth as a Min,